Mix in the Dark.
Hey, what's up? It's MaiYang from Mix in the Dark. Happy testing season for students, or maybe not so happy testing season for students. Either way, spring is when all of the standardized state tests come out. And I'm not a fan of those because it really only gives a snapshot of what you can do. But as a school, we are still required to give it. So good luck to all students. My biggest hack for you is to remember that all of your answers are right in front of you. You really just have to figure out which letter choice makes the most sense. A while ago, I posted a survey for creatives to help me and a few others organize an event that would be beneficial for folks like us who like to create content. Every year, the Reminisce podcast and Mix in the Dark get together to plan a mixer for creatives. This year, we're organizing it a bit differently, and it will happen a little later than our usual springtime. So stay tuned for all of the details at a later podcast episode. With all of these moving parts, one thing that has really helped me stay on track is having my little dose of magic mind. I wear a lot of hats in my life. I am a mother, a teacher, a writer, a podcaster, and an organizer. I work with data all day long as part of my career as a math teacher, and then I come home to my kids and give them my full-on attention. At the end of the night, I have a little bit of time to write and then event plan. I thrive off connections, partnerships, and conversations, and all of this takes up a lot of my time and energy. What I've noticed about the Magic Mind drink is that it gives me a good boost of energy throughout my day so that I'm able to check off a lot of tasks on my to-do list. I mentioned before that I'm a pretty fluster-minded person, and Magic Mind has helped me to focus and think a lot more clearly. As the drink is working in my body throughout the day, I could feel an energy shift within my body. It's really hard to explain, but it's comparable to a runner's high where while you're running, your mind gets into this headspace where you feel confident to physically push through, even if it is tough and physically demanding. I'm going to make up a word and I'm going to call it a work high. So like when I talk about a work high, drinking Magic Mind gives me this work high where I feel focused and able to push through tasks that I normally would leave for another day. You won't know unless you commit and try Magic Mind to see if it's right for you. This time around, Magic Mind is giving my listeners 20% off purchases. All you need to do is type magicmind.com/darkmar and use my code DARKMAR, DARKMAR, to receive this discount. A lot of people have asked me about what this drink looks like. I have the link in my details, and so if you just click on the description, you would be able to find the link to this Magic Mind drink, and you would find the code on it. It's really easy. It has helped me, and maybe it will do the same for you. And that's it for now. Enjoy the story. My little family and I have been looking for houses for a while. I was pregnant with my third child, our family was growing, and our current home just wasn't big enough. It took a while before we finally found a place that was in our budget and in the area that we wanted. I was looking on Zillow and found a house that seemed updated and big enough for us. We were a family of 4. For now, until our baby is born, it would be me, my husband, and my 2 kids aged 4 years and 2 years. For storytelling purposes, I will refer to the 4-year-old as Liam and the 2-year-old as Ryan. I contacted the landlord to view the house. When we walked in, the house was bright and warm. The current tenants were still living there, so we were able to chat with them a little bit about the place. It was a 2-floor, 3-bedroom house with a finished basement. There was a huge backyard where the kids could play, and the living room was spacious enough for 2 kids to run around. By the end of the tour, I was pretty convinced that this would be the house. I already started planning in my mind the different things that I would do there and where each furniture would go. It was perfect. Despite being happy with the space, my husband suggested that we keep our options open. We viewed 4 more houses. They all had their pros and cons. It was either that the house looked great, but it wasn't in our budget, or the house was in our budget, but it looked run down. Finally, I talked to my husband about all of this. We weighed our options, and all of the houses just didn't seem to fit. I still had the first house that we viewed in my mind, so I brought that up to my husband to see what his thoughts were. He told me that he initially liked it too, but There was just something about it that didn't feel right, and he couldn't explain exactly what those thoughts were. We talked about it some more and came to the conclusion that maybe he didn't like the general area where the house was placed. The house was really close to a city with a high crime rate. Even if it did have a huge backyard, he wouldn't feel safe with the kids playing out there alone. We went back and forth on our house options and came to the conclusion that we would just take the first house because it was in our budget. It was spacious, and it had a pretty huge yard for if we were to have family gatherings. We thought that even though the house was right next to a high crime rate area, it would be okay if we just didn't let the kids play out in the yard alone. Move-in day finally came. Even though we already went through all the paperwork and sent in our deposit, I could tell my husband was very iffy about the house, but he dismissed his feelings and said that we could try until our contract was up to see if we liked it or not. We also couldn't afford other places at the moment, since I would be going on maternity leave that year anyway, so we just left it at that. There were 2 rooms upstairs and 1 room downstairs. We planned for Liam to sleep in one of the rooms upstairs while Ryan would sleep with us. We left the room downstairs to be a mini office and guest bedroom area. We had my husband's older brother and younger sister come by to help us carry boxes into the house. They also stayed a little after to check out the place and help us set our living room area and kitchen area. I was grateful because it was hard for my pregnant belly to really do anything. My husband's older brother came with his wife and 2 kids, so while we set up things upstairs, our kids played downstairs. My husband's younger sister went downstairs to build the computer desk while listening to the kids to make sure that they were all okay. It hadn't even been an hour yet when their oldest daughter came running upstairs. She didn't say anything, but she looked spooked. Her mom asked what was wrong. I remember all she did was shrug and say that she was tired and wanted to go home. Her mom said that they were going to stay a little while longer and for her to go back downstairs to play. She quickly shook her head and said that she would just stay upstairs. About 30 minutes later, my husband's sister came upstairs with the 2 other kids. Ryan was crying. He kept saying, "He made me fall down. He made me fall down." I questioned Liam, asking him what happened. Liam shrugged and said that Ryan and their little cousin were playing with cars at the bottom of the staircase. He said he didn't see anything because he was busy playing Roblox when his little brother just started crying. My sister-in-law apologized, saying that their child must have pushed ours. Their youngest son was 3 years old. My sister-in-law kept pressing him to apologize, and all the while he kept shaking his head, saying that it wasn't him. "Boys will be boys," I said, trying to lighten up the mood. We finished setting up the furniture for the living room, and then everyone headed out for the night. After they left, we figured that we should probably fix the bed so that we would have somewhere to sleep. We asked Liam if he was comfortable sleeping by himself or if he wanted to sleep with us for a few days. He loved his role as the big older brother and the big boy of the house, so I wasn't surprised that he wanted to start sleeping in his new room. I helped him arrange his space while my husband figured out our bed. During this time, I asked him again about what happened downstairs with the 2 littles. He replied that he really didn't know because he was playing games. I sighed and said, okay, not thinking too much about it. After setting up our beds, I had the boys go to sleep. It wasn't too late, so my husband and I stayed up a bit, and then we called it a night. We had been at the house for about 3 months now. I had about a month left before my due date. My husband works the second shift, and for this last month, he wanted to take some overtime shifts to rack up income so that we can prepare for the new baby. He wasn't coming home until 2, sometimes 3 in the morning. With this new routine, I was also not sleeping until pretty late because I was experiencing some insomnia, probably due to my pregnancy. It was during this time that some really unexplainable things happened. One night, after putting my 2 kids down, I just couldn't get myself to fall asleep. I decided I would go out to the living room to watch a boring show so that I would hopefully become tired and fall asleep. I was about an hour into the show and it probably was a little past 12 a.m. That's when I heard what sounded like a door slam come from the basement area. I immediately thought that it was an intruder. I went to grab Liam from his room and went into my room to lock it. Liam was still fast asleep as I set him down on the bed. I listened again. I heard the sound of heavy feet echo down the hallway like it was at the bottom of our stairs. This was when I decided that it was time to call the police. I called the police and reported that it was an emergency and that I think there is someone inside the house. They asked me if we were hiding somewhere safe. I told them I don't know and that I locked us up in my bedroom. They instructed me to go find a hiding spot for us. I woke Liam and carried Ryan to go to our walk-in closet. I turned off the lights. My ears were in full alert mode. I stayed on the line with the 911 operator. I was so scared that I actually don't remember our conversation through the phone, but basically she told me to remain calm and that they were sending some officers our way. I don't know how many minutes went by when I heard what sounded like soft walking at the outside perimeter of our house. Suddenly, I heard banging at the front door. It was the police. I set Ryan down. He was now up and wide awake asking what was going on. I told the boys to stay hidden in the closet while I go to the door. I rushed to the door. I took a look out the window by our front door to make sure that it was indeed the police, and it was. I let them in. I explained to them what I heard. They asked me if it was okay for them to come in and look through the rooms to make sure they were completely cleared. I told them yes, and that I first heard the sounds downstairs. The police officers went downstairs and then came back up to look through our rooms, doors, windows, and closets. They even looked through our garage. After a good 10 minutes or so, they came to tell me that they did not see anyone and did not see any signs of a forced entrance. I told them that I was sure I heard a door slam downstairs. Because they couldn't find evidence of an intruder, they told me that they would keep circling the neighborhood for the next hour or so to look for any suspicious activities. I couldn't sleep that night. I had both kids sleep with me on my bed with the doors locked. I kept my phone close by and waited for my husband to get home. My husband usually gives me a text when he's off work driving home. As soon as he texted, I called and I let him know the situation as he drove home. When he finally got home, he did one more sweep of the house, inside and out. He was unable to find anything out of place. We decided to dismiss the idea of it being an intruder. We convinced ourselves that it was probably just the house creaking, even though in my heart, I knew what I heard. The next night, I asked my little sister to come stay with me at my place. I didn't tell her about the incident, but that I just felt lonely and needed someone around. We had dinner, put the kids down, watched a movie together. The night was pretty quiet so far. It was getting pretty late, so I asked her if she wanted to sleep on our couch upstairs with us or if she'd rather have her own space and sleep in the guest room downstairs. She opted to sleep in the guest room downstairs. She said she wanted to talk on the phone with her boyfriend and didn't want to be a bother. I set her up downstairs and went back up to my room with the boys. Once again, my insomnia was fighting me. I pulled up my phone and started playing some games on it. It was maybe 1 a.m. in the morning when I finally felt a little tired, so I tried to shut my eyes to sleep. Suddenly, I heard quick feet rush up the stairs. I heard my sister's voice say my name. I answered her through the door, and she didn't say anything back. A little concerned, I walked over to the door and opened it. To my surprise, my sister was nowhere in sight. I called out her name a few times. All of a sudden, I heard her run up the stairs and say my name. This creeped me out because I heard this exact thing just a few moments ago before I came out of my room. I saw that she was panicking. I asked her what was wrong, so she told me. I heard something downstairs. At first, I heard someone going up and down the stairs, and then all of a sudden, I heard a rumbling noise like someone fell down the stairs, and then there was a sound of the door shutting, but the thing is, there are no stairs nor door in the area that I heard it from. It was then that I told her about my experience with hearing a door slam yesterday night, the police coming through, and them not being able to find any evidence of an intruder. I went downstairs with her to check out the space. She pointed to a corner in the family area. We went back upstairs. She then asked me if I felt safe and if we wanted to go stay at her apartment for the night. I told her that I was going to wait for my husband since it was going to be time for him to come back anyway and that I didn't want to leave him alone in the house. My sister nodded, understanding. She stuck around until my husband got home and then she left for the night. I told my husband about all these things that happened, and of course, he didn't believe me because it seemed like it came straight out of a movie, like I made it up. I wouldn't even believe myself. The next few nights would be me wondering if I would hear anything downstairs and waiting for my husband to come home so that I would feel safe. Sometimes I would hear footsteps. Sometimes I would hear doors opening and closing. Sometimes I would hear the sound of someone falling down the steps. It was like a broken record repeating itself over and over again. It doesn't happen every single night. It would happen maybe once every 2 to 3 days. By the third week, I was able to predict when these strange noises would happen. It was always the same thing. There was usually a door sound, followed by footsteps like someone climbing the stairs, and then sometimes I would hear the sound of it falling down some steps. This happened within a 10 to 15 minute time frame between the 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. hour. I heard it so often that it kind of became normal to me. Although that was the case, I refused to go downstairs for anything. I lived that way until it was time for me to deliver the baby. My brother's little sister also had just told us that she was going to be moving in for a few months until she could find a place to rent. She was moving out of their parents' place, and while she was at it, she would help me with my 1-month postpartum. Fast forward to me bringing home my baby. My brother's little sister had lived with us for about 2 weeks now. Oddly enough, there were no sounds during the time that she was with us. This caused me to believe that maybe I was going crazy or that it was my pregnancy hormones doing whatever. My husband also stopped working overtime to spend more time with me and our newborn. One night, I was awoken by the sound of my husband and his sister talking about something. His sister sounded very serious and concerned. I came out of the room to see what all the commotion was about. I learned that she too heard sounds coming from the corner of the living space downstairs. I told them about the incident with my little sister. My husband went to check out the corner. After a while of investigating, he ended up knocking it a few times. That was when we learned that a tiny area the size of a door was hollow. A lot of small things happened since discovering that hollow space, but here's what we found out. One of our neighbors told us that someone got shot on the premises and ended up dying. They didn't know the full story, but they saw someone getting wheeled out of the garage in a body bag. We confronted our landlord, who eventually ended up confirming the story. We asked him about the hollow space in the corner area of the basement living room. He told us that there used to be steps there that connected the downstairs space to the garage. They decided to cover it after the person got shot because it was an easy entry point for intruders. My fear had come true. My guts told me that this place was haunted, but I never said much. We weren't able to get our deposit back, so we ended up finishing our year lease and then we moved out of that space. Upon moving out, my brother's sister-in-law also told us that when they moved us in, their daughter told them that she saw a dark figure on the ground and it seemed like it was crawling toward them. This spooked her, but she didn't want to scare the kids, so she just quietly went upstairs. To this day, I still wonder if I had experienced a residual haunting where significant past events or trauma are replayed. I guess we would never know the house's history. I was curious, but I decided not to pry. Some things are better left unknown.
Thank you for listening to Mix in the Dark. I am your host, MaiYang. Mix in the Dark is available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast series. If you have a story that you would like to share, please send it to myxinthedark@gmail.com. If there's a story that you really enjoyed, feel free to hit up my tip jar on Venmo. Just search Mix in the Dark on the business tab.